Welcome to 2024, and what better way to start the year by reflecting on the makes of 2023. So according to my notes, I made 55 brand new to me pieces, 11 muslins and 13 refashions. So even with all those totals added together, that comes out to 79 pieces sewn in 2023, which is much less than the last 2 years. But it was my year of projects that scares me, so this really doesn't surprise me. I really do enjoy doing these review videos and seeing what I have accomplished over the year. I do want to just say, for anyone that's new here or isn't sure, this is my full-time job. I know I've made a lot of things, and I know I've made a lot more than some people and a lot less than others. I am in no way trying to say that anyone has to keep up with me or compare themselves to me in any way, shape or form. I put out the content that I do to share my tips and tricks and techniques and hopefully help inspire you in some way to sew the dream garments that you've been dreaming up. So whilst this is a lot of things that I have sewn, it is my full-time job and it is something that I also do as a hobby behind the scenes as well. So I just wanted to put that out there because I do get a few comments every time I do one of these videos just saying, wow, that is an awful lot of things, how do you have the time? It's my job, that's how I have the time. Now I have tried to take clips and twirls of everything that I have made, and I'd like to review it with you now. So let's have a look at the beginning of the year and how everything started. The first piece that I made was the Vogue 9040 coat, and I absolutely love this thing. I think it is gorgeous. I don't have it anymore. I have given it to my sister-in-law. Mum and I were making this project together using a craftsy class, and when I started the project I had just started eating keto quite strictly, and in the 10 days it took me to make the project I actually lost 10 pounds. So when I started, the muslin that we made fitted me really well, and by the end of it, it was way too big on me. I love the silhouette and the shape of this coat, and I would 100% make this again. I think it's gorgeous. I would obviously just tailor it to my new size. The other thing is I would do it in a different colour. I just had my colours done the previous month with the lovely Nicola from All About the Outfit, and black is definitely not one of my colours. Mum really wanted a black coat, and I had bought this particular coating in this black and tan colours, but Mum doesn't enjoy sewing with black, and we came to the conclusion that she should have the tan and I should have the black, and it probably wasn't the best decision. As I say, my sister-in-law has this coat. I definitely think she's a winter, and so is one of the people that can definitely wear black and pull it off and look amazing in it. I believe that she does wear this coat and loves it. I'm really proud of it. I do think it's gorgeous. Like I say, it's just a little bit too big for me, so that one, whilst successful, doesn't exist in my wardrobe anymore. It was really fun making a coat with Mum, and we are actually going to be doing the same thing this January with another Vogue coat, so keep your eyes peeled for that video coming very soon. Next up we have the Ziggy jacket. Now I have been threatening to make this for years now. It's been featured in my Make 9 multiple times. I had this absolutely beautiful faux suede fabric with foil flowers all over it. The very lovely Erica had made some hand luggage out of it, and she came to my very first sewing retreat back in 2019 it must be. I fell in love with it, and she very kindly went to her local Joann's, bought the rest of it up for me and sent it over to me. I had earmarked it for the Ziggy jacket ever since. I have never made a style arc pattern before, and I didn't know how their block fitted me, so I did my due diligence and made up a muslin, and I thought I had the fit nailed. I did not. I went ahead and made up the jacket. The style arc instructions were minimal at best, but there are quite a few sew alongs out there for the Ziggy jacket, so I muddled through, got it made, was really happy with it, but I really don't like the fit of it on me. It's way too big over the bust, and it was way too big at the waist as well. It just looked really boxy on me, and it's not a silhouette that I enjoy, so I tailored it in at the waist, and it just ended up doing some strange things. So whilst I absolutely love this piece and I think it's beautiful and I'm really glad that I've made it, I don't have it anymore. My niece has this one. I sent both the coat and the jacket to my sister-in-law and niece, and their wardrobes are practically interchangeable at this point. So I believe my niece has still stolen this one and taken this one to live at her new house. So it is being loved, it is being worn, but it's not being worn by me. I am going to revisit making a biker jacket, and I have some amazing red wool to do that with later on this year. I'm probably going to go down a Vogue jacket route though, rather than the Ziggy jacket again. It is gorgeous, but I don't think it's quite the right silhouette for me. So after a slightly disappointing start to the year, I moved on to a TNT project for me. This is the McCalls 7319 dress. I have done a full sew come along for this to talk you through how to make the actual dress look like the illustrations on the envelope, because the finished dress as is does not. This is an amazing fabric I picked up from the So Southampton meetup. I got through 3 meters of it and I just squeezed this dress out of that 3 meters, and I absolutely love this dress and I have worn it loads. This one is a definite success and has stayed in the wardrobe. Next we have the first and only by hand London Anna top that I made this year. It was in the remnants of a viscose that I bought from Guthrie & Ghani to make a dress that you'll be seeing in a second. I love how this has turned out and I do wear this quite frequently. The red colour is definitely one of my favourites, and yeah, so happy with how this came out. Next up is another fail. These jogging bottoms, they are the McCalls 7634, and I have made 3 pairs of those very successfully and I have worn them to utter death. They are pilled, they are bobbled, they do not look very smart anymore. So I decided I wanted to try and make some from a red fabric, and I got this ponte from the Sherwood's half price remnant sale. It just didn't have enough stretch in it, so I ended up having to make the waistband the same size as my hips or the same size as the trousers so that it could be pulled up over my hips. And whilst they fit, it's not as cinching as the other ones that I have in my wardrobe, so I didn't love how these looked. And again, these have gone to my sister-in-law who does love them and does wear them, so they have not gone to waste. But yes, these were a fail as well. Then Mum and I moved on to attempting to make our slopers, and we started with the skirt sloper, which was a great success, and then moved on to the bodice sloper, which again, I was genuinely amazed the first time I put that bodice sloper on and it fit as well as it did. Once I got those slopers done, I could then move on to trying out pattern drafting for myself, and I came up with this very simple grown on sleeve pencil skirted dress. I am over the moon with this thing. I think it's absolutely gorgeous. The print definitely helps make the overall effect of this dress. The print was diagonally running across the straight of the grain of the fabric, so I was very careful when I was cutting out the different pattern pieces to make sure that I was getting the print placed in the most effective manner on the dress, and I think I succeeded. I absolutely love this dress. I have never worn it out. I don't feel overly comfortable in pencil skirted dresses. I much prefer my big full floofy skirts. They make me feel more confident than this would. I also had nowhere to wear this because in my head this kind of a dress is very office appropriate, and if I worked in an office 100% would have worn this to work, but I don't. I work from home, so I haven't actually worn this dress out yet, but it is one of my favourite makes from the entire year. Next up was my first refashion of the year. This dressing gown has been languishing in my wardrobe for a very long time. I made it a good 7-8 years ago now. It was the first attempt at a vintage pattern and it didn't fit me quite right, and I don't think I'd understood the instructions, so I went in and did some alterations. There's a full video of the different things that I did for this dressing gown. The difference in fit is quite minor when you see the 2 clips next to each other, but it has meant that I now wear this dressing gown far more frequently. It is absolutely gorgeous, and because it's cotton flannel on the inside and then cotton silk on the outside, it's incredibly warm but still nice and toasty as well. I am so pleased that I did this. So whilst my first wiggle dress was 100% a success and I absolutely love it, and that is still in my wardrobe even though I've not worn it out, there were quite a few alterations that I needed to make to the dress itself to fit me as well as it appears to in the twirls. So I went back to the pattern, made all those alterations, and then cut out a second dress from the leftover fabric and trying to work again on print placement and get the fit much better. So this second dress, I didn't have quite enough to wrap the print the entire way around as I had with the first one, but it does fit me a lot better straight out of the packet, as it were, although it's straight off the draft. I don't have this one anymore. I have donated this one, but I have amended my sloper so that it will create this dress from the get-go rather than me having to take things in and tweak things like I did with the original dress. So whilst I don't have it anymore, it is a success. Then we've got one of the first muslins that I have actually taken a clip of. This is the hemispheric coat from Pauline Alice, and you will be seeing the finished one of those much later on in the year. I had intended to try and get this coat done at the early part of the year, but time just got away from me, and by the time it was ready to be made, it was getting warmer, so it seemed silly to try and make a wool coat and cape combo just as we were coming into spring. But I'm very glad that I made the muslins because they have turned out awesomely and gave me the confidence to cut into the expensive expensive wool that I chose for the final piece, which again you will see a little bit later in this video. The first, and probably actually looking at it the most successful of my Star Trek dresses, again this is from my self-drafted bodice sloper. I love how this looks. I just hate the fabric. It feels like a piece of armor. So I was 100% inspired by Bianca from the Closet Historian for this project, and I used cotton sateen, and not all cotton sateens are created equal. I should know this, but I just picked one, used it, and it was way too stiff for the type of feel I like for my clothing. I do like how it looks. I like all the color blocked or the texture blocked pieces, and I do think it's a really nice dress, and I am really pleased with how it came out. I just don't like it on me. I don't like how it feels, and again I don't feel comfortable wearing pencil skirted dresses, so yeah, this one was an utter fail. But I was absolutely determined to make my Star Trek dress happen, so I decided to try a different type of fabric and ordered some of this scuba crepe from Fabric Styles to use along with the shiny fabric that I had used in the previous iteration. This is actually a Vogue 8972. I have done a full sew along for that, turning that woven dress into a knit dress, and whilst I really like how this turned out, again I don't feel super comfortable in pencil skirts. I don't know why I kept trying to make this thing happen, and there is going to be a wrap-up video of the Star Trek dress project coming out very, very soon, because I I did not listen to Einstein, and who says the definition of insanity is trying the same thing over and over again expecting a different result. To be fair, somebody did point out that that's also the definition of practice, and I did change some things, so maybe not insanity, maybe just my stubborn nature coming out and me being determined to make this thing work. But yeah, this one was also not a success. I still have it hanging up because I haven't filmed the final project video yet, but I haven't worn it and I won't wear it. It's definitely not a me dress, but it was much more comfortable than the cotton sateen version, so I thought I was on the right track using a stretch fabric rather than a woven, even though technically cotton sateen has some stretch in it. So I decided to persevere down that route, which you will see again the fruits of soon. After my second attempt at the Star Trek dress, I decided to try my hand at lingerie making. I've been threatening to do this for ages, and I fully intended to do more of it this year. I started off with the Raven harness from Yves Le Louvre, and it turned into this thing. Now, lots of people when I put it up on Instagram were just like, whoa, that's a change of pace, and yes it is. But it was something that I wanted to give it a go. I've seen loads of these on Pinterest, lots of different styles of those, and I think it's absolutely beautiful. Is it a practical piece? No, it is not. Was it fun to make? Yes, it was. It was something that I got done in a day, and I'm really happy with how it turned out, so very, very pleased with that one. So after a couple of fails, I went for another pick-me-up project, and by this point I had lost a fairly decent chunk of weight, so I could get back into my original Grace dresses, which was amazing because I have loads of those and I absolutely love that pattern. So I decided to cut into my super precious rose print cotton that I got from Stitch Fabrics. I believe this is a Dolce & Gabbana print. It's a heavy cotton, and I thought it would be really good for the Grace dress, which is for me something that I really enjoy wearing. It's a very boobtastic dress, but I love how it looks, and I was so pleased with how this dress turned out. It's definitely one of my favorites from the year, and I wore it to the gala dinner at the sewing retreat that I held at Fox Hills in May. And to go with the dress, I had enough fabric left over to make this teeny tiny little jacket. This is the New Look 6080, and I tweaked this quite a lot to be a lot more fitted at the waist. I think I have maybe gone slightly overboard, and I need to let it out a little bit so that the side seams sit straight, but that's a really easy fix for the pattern, and it is something that I'm going to be doing fairly soon because I want to make a couple more of them because I really like how this looks over this dress. I think it's gorgeous, so it's something that just gives me a different option of a layering piece other than a cardigan, especially if I want something a little bit smarter. I loved this outfit and I had a great time at the retreat gala dinner. Another tried and true dress. This is the McCalls 7537, made from the red viscose that I got from Guthrie and Ghani. I absolutely love how this thing has turned out. I did make a few tweaks to the neckline because the neckline on my previous dresses gaped a little bit, and because I had managed to get the fit so close to my body, I decided not to put the ties in. So this is quite a boobtastic dress, but as I previously stated, I really don't mind that. I love how this has turned out. I have a full sew along for the pattern. I also have a sew along for how to do the tiered and gathered skirt, or how I do the tiered and gathered skirt, both of which will be listed in the description down below. Really, really pleased with this dress. I've worn it loads and loads of times and I will continue to wear it. I think it's absolutely beautiful. Very, very happy with this one. I also started my corset making around about this time as well. I made 4 mock-ups for the Betty corset from Corsets by Caroline. I paid extra for a specific custom generated pattern for my measurements. I think it's come out 95% good. I had intended to go back to this and tweak it to get the top line sitting a bit flatter across, because it gave me the kind of like the bulge, the dreaded bulge above the top line, despite the fact that it wasn't tight. I could pull it out a good inch either side with it being laced as tight as it would shut. I enjoyed the process of making the corset, and the actual sewing of the corset was a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. This is a single layer corset that I've ended up with, but fitting it's just not been easy, and an over the bust corset apparently is not the easiest to fit. If I tweak this one and cut it down so it's an under bust corset and then put new boning in and finished off the top line, it would be a perfectly fitting underbust corset. I'm really happy with the fit over my hips, my waist, and to my underbust, but it is just that top line that digs in a little more than I would like. I tried 4 iterations of this and put it to the side to give it a rest with the intention of coming back to it in a couple of weeks, and I never picked that project up again, which is why a lot of my Make 9 plans never happened. I had intended to make a lot of Gertie's fancier dresses and I wanted them to be built over a corset because I don't like strapless bras, and I do want some lift and support for my bust in a strapless or a dress that doesn't really facilitate wearing a regular bra, which is why I tried to make the corsets first. And because I didn't get the corset done, I ended up not completing my Make 9, which again, there's a video coming out about that very soon as well. So I'm really glad that I tried. I am going back to the corset because I do want to get some of those Gertie dresses done this year. I've got some gorgeous fabrics for them. It's just, yeah, I was having so many fails so close together that I decided to pivot and move into tried and true projects that I knew worked for me, and it was definitely something that saved my sojo, because there was a good 4 or 5 weeks there where I just had no motivation to make anything whatsoever. And I did do a whole video about getting my sojo back, and I had asked you guys for your suggestions as well, and you'd come up with some really good ones. And tried and trues is a definite tried and true tested way of getting your sojo back if you've lost it. So that's why the next bunch of projects are all things that I have made many times before and I absolutely love. This is the first of many bag projects that I made this year. It is the Lavender and Twine Horiath bag in the Mora mustard yellow faux leather, and I absolutely love how this has turned out, and I have been using it as my everyday bag ever since. Now, I taught the Lavender and Twine Horiath bag at the KB sewing retreat that I held in May at Fox Hills last year. There is another one coming up this year and I'm going to do a whole video letting you know all about it very soon. Again, like I say, I love this bag. The pattern is amazing. The videos that go along with the pattern are amazing. Can't rave about Lavender and Twine patterns enough. They're linked in the description down below and I highly, highly recommend. I was clearly on a bag making kick at this point because I decided to make the blue Cala Aster bag that I have been dreaming about for ages. I've had this leaf print cork in my collection for a very long time, as well as the dark green faux leather, and I'd put together the rose gold hardware kit for the Aster bag to be made and then just never gotten around to it. So clearly the Horiath had gotten me in the mood, as had the retreat, and once that was finished I decided that the Aster bag needed to be made up. I think it's beautiful. I absolutely love this bag. It reminds me of the Hermes toolbox bag, and I have featured that in the Get the Look for Less video. I haven't used it yet and I'm not sure why. I think it might be because I don't have a coat that I want to wear it with, which is daft, but you know what? That's how my brain works. So I'm very glad that I've made it. It's a bag that I've been thinking about for a very, very long time. As I mentioned, I had definitely lost my sojo during the spring of 2023, and one of my favorite ways to get your sojo back is to make a TNT dress. As I mentioned, my favorite TNT is the Eve dress. This is definitely kind of like my nude Eve dress, but it's a print that I got from the Gold Hawk Road. I actually have it in 3 colorways. including this pink one, and I love how this has turned out. I have worn this multiple times and it makes me very happy, and there will be more Eve dresses in my future. Next up we have this beautiful yellow kind of burnout cotton that I got from the Cloth Edit. It is gorgeous. It was featured in Gabrielle's House of Z subscription box that she does quarterly. Not this particular colorway. Gabrielle knows me really well and she sent me pictures of the different colorways that she had, and I was just like, yes, the yellow one, I need it. So I bought 4 meters of it and I made this KB Grace dress, which is the boobtastic bodice with the tiered and gathered skirt. I love this thing. Now unfortunately I have put a bit of weight on over Christmas, so I can't fit into it at the moment, but I'm back on keto and I will be able to fit into it very soon, in time for spring I'm hoping. I haven't worn this one out yet, but I definitely want to. I'm super pleased with how this one turned out. I think it's gorgeous. I hadn't hemmed the lining of this dress when I filmed this video. This is from the One Bodice 4 Different Skirts video, which again I will link in the description down below, and though I hadn't filmed a couple of the hems of the couple of these dresses. Next up is another of my favorites, and this is the KB Grace bodice, with this time with a double circle skirt on it. I did a whole video about how to draft a double circle skirt, and like I went into great detail about how to split up a circle and then what radius you needed for your waist and how to make the pattern pieces work. After like filming and describing my method for getting my pattern, the couple of you that were then like, well surely you could just use the front piece and then if they were even, the rest of the pieces, the number of times that you needed to get the waist measurement, it was just like, oh. I had a proper light bulb moment of like, yeah, that totally could work. I mean, to be fair, the sections that I cut my pattern into weren't equal, but if you did do it that way, that would totally work as well. I love this dress. I've worn it out a couple of times. It is beautiful, and I do have enough fabric left to make a top, which I'm very excited about. So yeah, really pleased with this dress. I think it's gorgeous. I've worn it out a couple of times. It has been hemmed when I wore it out. It's not hemmed in these videos. I love it, and I will definitely be making more Grace dresses this year. This fabric was 100% influenced by Jane as well. It's totally Jane's fault. We have another Grace dress. Like I say, this was a video of One Bodice 4 skirts. This is the 5-panel circle skirt, which again there's a video for and I will link it in the description. This is the chestnut tree print cotton lawn that I got from Fabric Godmother. The Peeps mentioned it during one of the live hangouts, and I have the breaking strain of a Kit Kat, so I promptly went off and bought 5 meters of it. I'm really glad that I did, because I managed to get the dress and this Butterick 5895 shirt out of the whole 5 meters. I also got a couple of scrunchies and I think about 17 meters of bias binding, so there was 0 wastage for what I had of this fabric. I love this outfit. I have worn it out a couple of times and I fully intend to wear it more. Mum also knit me a shrimp coloured cardigan which matches the pink in the print beautifully, and it's another way that I want to wear this outfit. And then the final Grace dress is in this fabric that I have been hoarding for the longest time. This is a cotton silk blend from Spoonflower with this all over rose print. This time I have gone for a box pleated skirt, and there again there is a tutorial for how to make this skirt listed in the description down below. I have been holding on to this fabric for a very long time. I bought a bunch of Spoonflower silks when I was still making shorter dresses, so I bought 3 yards of all of them, and I now much prefer longer skirts on me, but I still like the full skirts, so I was a little bit stumped as to what to do with these lengths of fabric. But when I could start wearing my Grace dress again, the bodice of the Grace dress, as you can see, is quite small, so it worked very well, and I managed to get this beautiful dress out of the 3 yards of fabric that I had. I'm really over the moon with the finished result. I think it's gorgeous. I have worn it twice and I will continue to wear it. It has survived in my wardrobe. And then we enter into June, which was So Fruity month. I started on a whole bunch of alterations. Now usually I hate alterations, they are not my favorite. I had this lemon print sateen skirt that I loved, that I absolutely loved, and I had a little bit left over to make probably a very similar shirt to the chestnut shirt you've just seen, but I probably would not have worn that shirt because the fabric was a little bit thicker and stiffer than the cotton lawn, and there's quite a lot of layers at the back of the neckline of that shirt for a start. I could have done a different top or a shirt, but I like dresses. I prefer wearing dresses. Then they are my favorite. So I decided to cut out the bodice of the 8577, take off the waistband from the skirt, smoosh them together, and this is the result. It's a 3/4 circle skirt, which is not as usually as full as the 8577 skirts, but I love how it's turned out. I'm so pleased with it. I have worn this a couple of times. Next was another lemony print skirt that I really liked. I had lots of this fabric left over from another project, and I had made an 8-panel circle skirt, which is 3/4 circle skirt again, trying to have like stripes running horizontally around the skirt. It kind of worked, but I just don't wear skirts, and I had a little bit of the fabric left over, so with some clever and careful cutting, I think I managed to make a dress that I would now wear, and I have done over the summer. I think it's gorgeous. It's the Grace bodice again because it takes a little bit of fabric, and I only had a little bit of fabric left, but I'm really pleased with the overall results. So during So Fruity, I had planned on doing a kind of review or a make your patterns work hard for you video about the 7974. I've made a lot of videos about that pattern because I really like it. This was the first one that I made. This is another strawberry print quilting cotton that I have had in my stash for a very long time, and again I bought it when I was making shorter dresses, so I had 3 yards of it. So I had enough to cut out the bodice of the dress, and then I had enough for 2 panels for a gathered skirt, and I love how it turned out. I actually haven't worn this one yet, but I will. It is still in the wardrobe, and I definitely will wear it. Next up is one of my favorite makes from the year. It's the Orange Blossom Primavera from Rifle Paper Company Rayon. I had 5 meters of this that I got from Sister Mintaka. I love it, absolutely love it, but I had been holding on to it for the longest time because I really didn't know what to do with it. I was worried about making the wrong thing. After having made so many 7974s and wearing those 7974s, I knew that this would be the perfect project. It's one of my favorite dresses that I've made this year. Another 7974, and what I was trying to illustrate with the video was that you can make the same pattern over and over again, but tweaking either sleeves, collars, skirts or fabrics, you end up with wildly different looking pieces. It's actually my best performing video from the year, which is saying something. This is the Fabric Godmother Viscose Linen version, and again I absolutely love how this one has turned out, and I have worn this one over the warmer months, and I will be wearing this one again this year. And then the final for now 7974, you will see this again later because I added to it, but I decided to do this one with flutter sleeves, and I did a tutorial on how to take the original sleeve and turn it into a flutter sleeve, and again that video is listed down below. This one is made in a ivory viscose twill that I got from the fabric room, and I love how this one has turned out. Plain like this I think is absolutely gorgeous, but like I say, you will see it a little bit later with some added embroidery motifs, which was always the plan, and I'm really pleased with the final result. Next we have another refashion. This is a Timeless Treasures Morning Glory quilting cotton. I had made a different dress from this and put the scraps that I had left away into my bag making stash, which is just hiding back there. I made this dress a couple of years ago when I was at my biggest, and I tried altering it, but I couldn't quite get the fit quite right. So I decided to completely take the bodice off and dig out the scraps from my bag making stash and make a Grace bodice. And again, I went for the Grace because it has very small pattern pieces, and I love how this has turned out. I think it's absolutely gorgeous, and I have worn it. Another refashion, there were quite a few this year. This is the Spoonflower Cotton Sateen Flamingos Making a Splash. This was my very first sponsored video, and it's how to make a 5-panel circle skirt for directional prints. Again, listed in the description down below. I absolutely love this skirt, but I never wore it because I don't wear skirts. I have realized this about myself. I much prefer dresses. I actually did have enough of this fabric left over to cut out a shirt, which you will see later, and that had always been the intention, was to make a skirt and a shirt, so it would be something that I could either wear together to look like a dress or something that I could wear separately. I just never wore the skirt separately, so I never kind of got around to making the shirt. I had enough left of the fabric to cut out the KB Grace bodice as well as the shirt, and now I have a dress and a shirt, which is definitely something that I really will wear and really will wear individually and pair together. I'm so very pleased with that one. Another refashion, another KB Grace bodice. This time it was my 16 panelled chevroned circle skirt, which again there's a tutorial for. I will list it in the description down below. Again, I just never wore it. I did make a shirt that matched out of the coordinating quilting cotton, but I didn't like how they looked together, so I dug out my scraps. I cut out another KB Grace dress with clever seaming so that we'd end up with more chevrons on the bodice as well, and I was really pleased with how that one turned out. Didn't actually get around to wearing that one this last summer though, but I will this summer. Yet another KB Grace bodice. This time it was my Michael Miller skirt. It's a pleated and gathered skirt, which again there is a tutorial for and the link is in the description already. It was on the silk rose print dress from earlier. I love how the skirt looks, but I just never wore it, so I dug out some white quilting cotton from my stash, made up a KB Grace bodice, put them together. I think it's absolutely gorgeous. Haven't worn it yet, but I will wear it when the weather warms up. I think this is the final KB Grace dress. I'm sorry there are so many, but as I say, it has small pattern pieces, so for the scraps of fabrics that I had left over from making the original dresses, and this was originally the 1743 dress from Vogue. I love this print. It's called Melba and it's from Lisa Chandler. I just didn't like the original dress. It has very strange points. There's a sew along for that dress on the channel. Again, I'll list it in the description down below. So I took the bodice off, cut out a KB Grace bodice from what I had left of my fabric scraps. Was really pleased with the precision that I was managed to achieve with the print, because it's a very kind of in-your-face large print. I think if I tried anything else it wouldn't have looked right, but very happy with how this one has turned out, and I did get to wear this one over the summer, so it's still in my wardrobe and it will get worn when the weather warms up this year. Another alteration, this time is taking, having said all the things I said about separates, it's taking what was a dress and turning it into a skirt. And I had to do that because I already had the shirt. I had cut the shirt out when I made the previous dress, so I had no scraps left over from remaking a bodice. So I took the bodice off of the dress, took that apart, cut out the waistband and made the skirt into a skirt that would fit me now. Then I dug out the matching shirt that I had made not last year but the year before. I love how it looks together, and I probably will always wear these two pieces together so it looks like a dress, because that is my preference. But I'm really glad that I've done it, because the dress, or what is now the skirt as a dress, would never have gotten worn. Again, it was something I tried to alter but I just didn't like how it looked. This one is another alteration, same thing. The skirt was originally a dress, the 1743 Vogue dress. I'd already made the shirt, so again I didn't have enough fabric left over to turn it into a dress that would fit me better, so I made it into a skirt and I have worn it here with its matching shirt. However, I don't like this one. Having just raved about the previous one, I don't like this one, and I think it's actually the colours. They are lovely colours, they're beautiful, but I think they're quite cool leaning, and it's definitely on a stark white background. So I did wear this during my separates challenge, which again there's a video for and I'll link that in the description down below, but I don't think it was successful, and I don't think it's successful for me. By the end of the day I wasn't happy in that outfit, so I actually will be donating that outfit. But I'm really glad that I did try and turn what was a very pretty dress into something that would work better for me, but I just think it's the print this time that hasn't worked, not the actual pieces. Another refashion. I was clearly in the mood this month. We're into July now. This is another 8577 dress. The original piece was just the 8577 skirt from this gorgeous quilting cotton, which is called Shell Bouquet from Calf Facet. I had only bought enough to make the skirt, because usually you need 5 meters to make the 8577. It's a fabric hungry beast of a dress, as you guys know. There's a full review and and sew along on the channel, which I'll list down below. I went back and bought a little bit more fabric because I absolutely loved it and wanted to make a matching shirt. Again, realized that if I did that, it probably would never get worn, so I ended up cutting out the bodice of the 8577, taking the waistband off the original skirt and smooshing those together, and now I have a 8577. It's actually a couple of inches shorter than my usual 8577s because, again, fabric restraints, but I don't think it makes that much of a difference, and I am super happy now that this is finally in dress form, and it did get worn over the summer. This is one of my most successful dresses from this year. It's the 5951, which there is a sew along for, and I absolutely love how this one has turned out. This is another of the Rifle Paper Company Primavera prints, this time in the lemons, and again, I bought it from Sister Mintaka. They only had 2.5 meters, so I bought whatever they had left, and it was just over 2.5 meters when I measured it out, but you probably know Rifle Paper Company rayons are incredibly narrow, so I didn't know what to do with this length of fabric. It ended up going in my top section of my fabric stash, and I just didn't really know what to do with it. Then I realized that the 5951 was a dress that I love. It's a dress I wear frequently and I love how it looks on me. So during one of the hangouts, I decided to get the fabric out, the pattern out, and see if I could squeeze that pattern onto that print, and I did. I did have to use sleeves from a La Cala pattern, which are these little cap sleeves. I definitely prefer little cap sleeves to no sleeves at all, and so I absolutely love how this one has turned out. It's one of my favorite dresses from the year. Really happy with this one, and I have worn it a lot. Next up are my Christmas pajamas, and Christmas in July is a thing, right? Especially for crafters. I had fully intended to get these done for Christmas of 2022, but clearly failed. I had them cut out, just never got around to actually making them up. So 6 months later, here they are. It's the Carolyn pajamas from Closet Core Patterns, and they are gorgeous. I just don't wear pajamas. It was one of those things where it's just like, I saw the fabric, I knew what I wanted it to be. I just don't wear pajamas. I've even created a PJ and pizza night for the last night of the retreat so that you can make yourself a pair of fancy pajamas to be seen in, because these are definitely pajamas to be seen in. I just don't enjoy sleeping in them. If I sleep in pajamas, it's definitely got to be jersey pajamas because they stretch and they move. I love how these look, and I've made them before, and I made alterations to them so that they were higher waisted because I didn't like where they originally sat. They were quite low slung, and I tailored the shirt a little bit more so that the sleeves were long enough for me. Then just they've never been worn. They're hanging up in the wardrobe. They are actually going to go to my best friend because she took the previous pair. She wears the shirt out in public as a dress shirt, and I think she'll do the same for these ones. I'm glad that I've made them, and I do love the Carolyn pajama pattern from Closet Core. It's just not something that is a necessity in my wardrobe, so I probably won't be making any more fancy pajamas. I do love these ones though. The fabric itself was a cotton poplin that I got from Minerva.com, and I bought it quite a while ago. I do actually have it in lilac as well, which I'm debating whether I keep or not. But I had enough of the fabric left over to try a muslin of the Rita blouse from Charm Patterns, and I'm so glad that I made a muslin. I was completely convinced I was going to love this blouse on me. I thought it was going to be another one of those under a meter staple tops that I would make 100 of and you guys would get sick of. I don't like it on me, and I can't 100% put my finger on what it is. I finished this nicely. It's well made. I did make an effort to do a well-fitting top, but it's just not for me. So that one has been donated and I will be selling the pattern later this year. Another Star Trek dress attempt, this time in a ponte with the holographic spandex fabric that I got from Etsy. I really like how this one feels. I do not like how this one looks. I definitely fluffed up when I was sewing the skirt of this. I love the top half. I love it from kind of the high hip upwards. I think the block placement or the color placement of the shiny pieces is really good. I like the shiny around my waist. I think it looks really nice. The skirt I fluffed up on. I don't know what happened with that skirt, but it doesn't hang correctly. Yeah, this is another Star Trek dress fail. And at this point I said, right, third time not the charm. This doesn't work for me. I need to step away from it, and fully intended to until a little bit later in the year where I came up with yet another bright idea, which you'll be seeing in a minute. But yeah, I don't like pencil skirts on me. I just don't. So I have not made any more since, and I probably won't make any more. The lemon dress has an A-line skirt, and I think that's actually a much nicer silhouette on me. So if I go for anything narrow skirt wise, it will definitely be an A-line rather than a full pencil skirt. Then we moved on to a very successful dress. This is the 8177, and there is a sew along on the channel for this, and I will link that in the description down below. This is some viscose that I got from the fabric room, no, the textile centre ages ago. They have opened up again, although they're not uploading loads of new stuff frequently, which is probably good for my bank balance, to be honest. I absolutely love how this dress has turned out. I think it's gorgeous, and I have made more of it, and I will be making more of it this year as well, because I've got some lemon print viscose up here that's going to look amazing in that dress. Love it. Very happy with it, have worn it. This is the white viscose twill 7974 that you saw earlier, this time with the embroidery motifs sewn onto the waistband, and I love how this looks. I was very much inspired by Tuota Matoshi when I made this dress, and I had intended to put way more motifs on, and I may again in the future, but I got the ones on the waist, tried it on, and I absolutely loved it. I showed you guys and everybody said stop there, don't do any more. So I haven't for now, but I'm not ruling out changing up in the future, because I could always take these ones off, put different ones on, add more, lots of different options. I think this dress is absolutely gorgeous. I didn't wear it though during the warm period last year, so I am going to be wearing it at some point come spring summer this year. It's 100% surviving in my wardrobe. I love it. Another 5951. Once I discovered that I could get this dress out of just over 2.5 meters of narrow fabric, I went through my stash and picked out all of my fabrics that I had bought shorter lengths of because I fell in love with the print, but they didn't have enough length for me to do my usual dresses. And there's an entire section back here that's going to get turned into 5951s because I wear them and I love wearing them. I feel really good in them. This one is no exception. This is a double gauze that I got from Sems Fabrics, and they have just started up printing again. They are print on demand, so I'll list to their Facebook page in the description down below. And this is one of their more popular prints. They do it on a number of different backgrounds. There's a minty green one that I'm very tempted by. I love how this has turned out. I think it's absolutely gorgeous, and I have worn it a couple of times, although I did get it finished at the beginning of September, so things were starting to cool down, so I didn't get to wear it very often. But it is a very, very pretty dress, and I'm really pleased that I finally made that fabric up. And having cut this shirt out in July, it took me until September to get round to sewing it, but I'm really glad that I did. It's the cotton sateen from Spoonflower. It goes with the KB Grace dress that you saw me alter earlier. I haven't actually put the two of them together in this clip because I wanted people to be able to see that it was a shirt, but they do look great together, like you saw with the chestnut print cotton lawn that I showed you earlier. This again is the Gertie 5895 shirt. Is that right? Yes, 5895 shirt, and it's beautiful. It is an out of print pattern. If you can get hold of it, I highly recommend. I have added 2.5 inches of length to that pattern to get it to actually sit on my natural waist. It is very, very cropped, so that's just something to bear in mind. This dress, the Vogue 9076. I have been threatening a sew along for this dress for a good 2 years now, and it is coming in January, I promise. The Patreon peeps have picked the fabrics. I had this navy fruity one cut out for a good 9-10 months, and I don't know what kind of a block I had with it, but I ended up just sewing it up rather than trying to make a sew along with this particular print. I'm really glad that I did because I love how it's turned out. I had filmed a sew along previously with the Cobra Corsage teal one, but I didn't like how the sew along turned out, so I scrapped that footage, and as I say, fully intended to film this one to be a sew along, but again, just a mental block with this pattern. I promise the sew along is coming. Like I said, I love how this has turned out. I had 3 meters of this fabric. It was from, I want to say, Cotton Reel Studios, which doesn't exist anymore as a fabric shop. It could have been from Lamazi. It was from one of the two. It's a beautiful viscose that I just absolutely love, and I'm so pleased that I turned it into this dress. It's one of my favorite things that I have made this year. It's gorgeous, love it. And the sew along for this pattern, I promise, is coming soon. We have another 8177, this time with the full sleeves on it. When I did the sew along for the strappy version, I had a few people ask how they would put the sleeves on, so I did a separate video showing you how I achieved that, and I love how this one has turned out. I hated the facings on the first one, so this one I've actually elongated I've basically done like a faux lining, because there's no waist seam to sew the lining to, so it's just tacked to the seam points the whole way around. I actually do now have in stock some viscose Marraine, and once that's washed, I'm actually going to cut out skirt pieces to sew onto the bottom of that lining piece to finish that dress off, because I didn't love the lining kind of finishing at the waist for the type of dress that it was. I haven't let that stop me from wearing that one out. I love it. I think it's gorgeous, and I will be making more of this dress. It's just a really, really lovely, easy make, and I think it's a really nice silhouette on me as well. So much so that I went through and made this one. It is the exact same dress that you've just seen, but I took the center front button placket, as it were, out and made it a zip up back with a waist seam, and then added a tiered and gathered skirt to it. I had fully intended to do a sew along for that process of how I made all those tweaks to that one pattern, but I picked this white viscose Swiss dot fabric, which is absolutely gorgeous, and had always been intended to be this kind of a dress, but it was a terrible choice for a sew along because you just couldn't see what was going on. So I am going to make another one of these, and I am going to show you how you can eliminate the front buttons, put in a waist seam, and then add any skirt that you want to it. That hack will be coming out early on this year because it is something that I really, really love. But the final dress that I got from making this one, I think is gorgeous, and I did intend for this to be worn underneath the dirndl that I was going to make. I have made one dirndl, a wearable muslin, but you won't be seeing that in these clips because I haven't finished the video yet. I'm going to be making and cutting out the silk that I've got to make my dirndl this month, and fingers crossed the making of the dirndl video will be coming out very soon. We are well into October now, and this is the final form of the Scout capelet from Charm Patterns, or Gertie's Patreon, and the Pauline Alice hemispheric coat that you saw the muslins for earlier. This is a navy wool that I got from Sherwood Fabrics. It's a Lady McElroy. They don't have any more of this one particularly left, but I will list to Lady McElroy's wool coating selection in the description down below. I took inspiration from Gertie's inspo picture and added faux fur to the hood and the bottom of the cape. I think it looks really, really cute over the hemispheric coat. The hemispheric coat itself was an absolute joy to make. There is already a sew along, which is really well done. It's all in French, but there's English subtitles. I really enjoyed the sew along. I thought it was very helpful, especially for a few tricky little bits like finishing off the hem and the lining at the center front. The only downside with the hemispheric coat is the pockets. They are small, they are oddly shaped, and I don't like them in that center front princess seam. I just not my favorite. I will make this again because I really love the shape, but if I do put pockets in, which I probably will, I like pockets in coats, I'm going to add them into the side seams. I think this coat is absolutely gorgeous. I'm so pleased with how it's turned out, and I have worn it quite a few times since it was made, as I say, in the middle of October. Another super fun project. This is the Rigel bomber jacket. I made one during Knitmas last year, and me being me, I fully lined it because that's my preference. Loads of you guys asked for a tutorial for that, so I went digging through my stash and found this Lima fabric that I'd actually intended to use as a bag, but I just had enough to fussy cut out the pieces for the Rigel bomber jacket, and I'm so glad that I did because I love how this thing has turned out. I haven't actually worn it out of the house, but I have worn it as a cardigan. The lining is a kind of fluffy jersey fabric, which is so nice next to the skin. I'm treating it as a zip-up cardigan. I may well wear it out of the house as a coat jacket type thing when the weather is a little bit warmer, but I did make this in October, so there wasn't really that opportunity because it was very cold and wet on the island in October last year. So I haven't worn it out of the house, but I have worn it around the house, and you guys seem to really enjoy the video of how to fully line a jacket like this, so I will list to that in the description down below. Next up we have my wildcard project for the year. It's the Christine McConnell inspired witch's hat. I really enjoyed the process of making this. There is a full video on the making of this hat, again listed in the description of this video. I only ended up with 2 severe burns and 1 cut from the materials used, but I think the hat itself has turned out amazingly. It does not fit, which is really annoying, because one of the first things that she says is to make sure that you err on the side of too much and then pad later rather than make it too small. But I made it too small. Never mind, it fits Mum really well. Mum actually wore it out to the WI Christmas party where they had to wear hats and were judged on their hats, and Mum won the competition with that hat. She did tell them she hadn't made it herself, that I'd made it, but yeah, she won, which was nice. The video itself did not do as well as I hoped it would, but I really enjoyed the whole process of making the hat, and it was a fun project. So much so that I do kind of want to make another one this year for Halloween. I want to make an entire witch's outfit, so it's probably going to be red. I am probably going to use hat making things rather than window screen and hot glue, because I think it might be easier on my fingers and also my forehead. I really ended up with a dent after wearing it for about 5 minutes for the filming that we did outside, but I'm really pleased with how it turned out, and I really enjoyed the process of making it. We have another refashion. This time it's the 1743 skirt. You saw it earlier this year when I was wearing it with the red, the same red top that I'm wearing it with in these clips. In those previous clips it was way too big for me and I needed to take a lot of ease out of the waist. Again, I'd made this when I was a bit bigger. I've lost weight since, so I have a number of these skirts that don't fit me, and I wanted to try and work out a way of altering them without taking away anything so that I could let them out in the future if I needed to. I have a whole video on how I did that for this project, and that is listed in the description down below. I'm so glad that I did it because I now wear this skirt frequently. It's one of my favorites and I love how this has turned out. Next we have the Vogue 9182 in a viscose linen fabric that again I got from the textile centre ages ago. This is actually a Patreon voted for sew along, and it's probably about 4 or 5 years overdue. I have absolutely no idea why I dragged my feet on this one because I love how this dress has turned out. I'm wearing it here as a pinafore dress because it's in the chillier part of the year and it is a strappy summer dress, but it does layer up really nicely over shirts and also jumpers and things like that. I could definitely wear it with this lily silk jumper and a cardigan over the top and feel very warm in that outfit. I love this dress. I think it's absolutely gorgeous. I am over the moon with how it's come out, and I will be doing the sew along for it very soon. I'm going to be featuring it in the Anaconda Antithesis lookbook, which is coming soon, so you guys will have the standalone video and also a couple of styling videos for that particular pattern. It's a really good one. I highly recommend. Then I moved on to another of the projects that scare me. I think I had 12 projects that scare me, and I did a whole video about that at the beginning of last year, which again linked in the description down below. One of those was working with some of the laces that Mum has brought me back from Saudi Arabia. I really like how this dress turned out. I haven't actually worn it out because I don't have anything to put on top of it to keep me warm that looks stylish. So this for me is kind of like, again, something where it needs to be spring summer for me to be able to wear this, but I'm genuinely amazed by how this has come out. I was a little bit worried about the midriff section, but looking back at this dress yet again, I think it's one of those ones where at the time you can't see the wood for the trees kind of thing, and when you've had a little bit of space and distance from a project, it suddenly starts looking a lot better. I'm really pleased with how this came out, and again there's a full video of the process that I used and the 3 patterns that went into it listed in the description down below. How many times have I said that this video? Don't take a shot each time, you would be very drunk. We have another 5951, this time in this absolutely gorgeous pansy print cotton lawn that I got from Truro Fabrics. Again, it was part of my stash of very short lengths of fabric that I just couldn't say no to the print, but they hadn't got the yardage or the length that I would usually buy. I would have loved to have bought 5 meters of this and turned it into an 8577, but they had 2 and a bit meters, so I bought that, again fully intending to make a shirt. I don't wear shirts, so it ended up languishing in the stash for a very long time. After the lemon dress, realized that I could make these, and yeah, I am over the moon with how this looks. I made this in the middle of November, so I have not worn this yet, but the minute the weather warms up, it will be one of the first dresses that gets worn out and about because it is glorious. And I love this shape on me. It's my answer to a pencil skirted dress because it has a skirt that's full enough and flared enough that I like it, but it's not over the top flared. So yeah, very, very happy with that one. Then we have my second attempt at the Halston skirt. I did do a whole video about using that vintage McCalls pattern last year, and I really loved how the skirt turned out, but it didn't fit me very well at the waist. It did fit me over the hips, which was the goal, but it didn't fit me at the waist. So I decided to go back to my slopers and draft something from scratch, and I have filmed the entire process of sewing this together. I did film the drafting process, but I used pencil and I don't have a ceiling mounted camera, so you couldn't really see what was going on. So I went back and filmed it in miniature, and I need to go and do that again because I managed to lose some of the footage. My camera has been playing up this year. This video is coming out soon, and I am so happy that I went back and revisited this skirt because I really, really like how it looks. You can't really tell in this twirl, but it does have interesting seaming lines, and I think if you did it in a stripe or a fabric with a nap like the corduroy that I used last time, you can see the style lines a little bit better. So I will be making this skirt again, and I will be doing it in a fabric that hopefully shows up maybe even like the same print but in different colors, so like a party kind of look. But I will be doing another one of those skirts because I love how this one has turned out. I'm genuinely amazed that I could get my brain around turning this into a pattern from my block. That was, to me, amazing, and does give me the courage to try doing that again in the future. That was the last project that I did in November. Then I moved on to the Vlogmas projects. I had a bunch of these that I was hoping to have gotten done in November as well, but I hadn't quite gotten around to them. So I worked on them at the beginning of December and then filmed all the tutorials and chatty bits to go along with the make so that I could put those out for you guys in December if you fancy trying your hand at a little bit of hand sewn present making. The first was this pencil case, and then there's also a cutlery pouch which I don't have down here, but I will put an image in for you. I use this every day, and it's to replace my giant pencil case, which I still use but I now keep down here, and this is very heavy, this is very light. This also goes with a whole set that I made from this butterfly tapestry fabric, which I'm really, really pleased with. The next project was my Dior inspired book tote, which again is from the same tapestry fabric. I like this fabric so much I've actually bought another 1.5 meters of it for a couple more projects. I love how this has turned out, and I use this every day. I had made the pattern up myself from measurements, and I've made a blog post with all of those measurements on, and there's a full tutorial of how to sew it all together, again listed in the description down below. I had already made one of these a couple of years ago, and you guys had asked for a tutorial for that. I've used it for a couple of years, and it's something I use daily, and it's something that's held up, and it's something that's worked. So I've put in the testing, it works, I can share it with you guys, so I did, and you seem to really enjoy it. Quite a few of you have messaged me to say that you've made yourself a bag, and a few of you have bought me coffees to say thank you as well. So thank you very, very much for A, enjoying it, B, buying me the coffees, and C, giving me the confidence to put that kind of a thing out into the world. It was a terrifying prospect, which sounds ridiculous, but yeah, a little bit scary. So I had 4 projects that I wanted to get done in December, and I managed to do 2 of them. Never mind, I did get a lot of other things done in December as well. The next one was my 4th and final attempt at the Star Trek dress. This time I went for a pattern that I know and love, and kind of played around with colour blocking that. I am not going to put up a twirl of it yet because there is going to be a complete video coming out about that project from start to finish. I don't think I like the final version either. I haven't tried it on for a while. It's another one one of those ones where I think I maybe built it up in my head so much that when I kind of tried it on, it was just like, oh no, this is not what I wanted, which was kind of disappointing. But as I say, I've had some distance from it now, so maybe I'll like it a little bit more. But I'm planning on doing a video around the whole topic of making this Star Trek dress, which you will be seeing very soon, so hopefully you guys enjoy that one. But yeah, that was the final clothing piece that I made this year. Then I moved on to my red Carter messenger bag, which is something that I've been wanting to make for absolutely ages. There were a few changes that needed to be made to the pattern to use this kind of hardware for it, and I have done a sew along that's an addition to the original Carter messenger bag sew along that's on my channel, and again it's listed in the description down below. I think I've made a video for nearly every project that I've done this year. I love how this has turned out. I haven't used it yet because I've been leaving it down here so I could film this video, but now that the video has been filmed I can take it back up to my room, and I think I might start using this one as my everyday bag because I absolutely love it. I think it's gorgeous and I'm so pleased with how this one turned out. Next up is my By Annie Power Trip cable organizer. I wanted this to go along with my book tote because my previous book tote I ended up with all my cables and tech gear just kind of hanging around in the bottom and getting messy and sometimes getting lost because it got, you know, layers of other stuff going over the top of it. I love how this has turned out. I do think that if I ever made this again, I would try and make the elastic along these pockets a little bit tauter because it doesn't really kind of hang on to the things that I put into those pockets, but it's really not the end of the world because it does kind of corral everything, all of my tech gear in here. I also have my little mini tripod that goes in here. I keep my camera batteries and everyday SD card in this front pocket. I love this thing. I think it's absolutely gorgeous. However, my plugs for both my laptop and my phone kind of really don't fit into any of these pockets neatly, so I decided to make myself a little square pouch out of the same fabric that was made around the dimensions of my laptop plug because that one is actually quite huge. Those both go in here, which does fit and tuck into the Power Trip bag, but it just means that the prongs of the plug aren't interfering with the mesh. That was one thing I was worried about, that they might kind of rip it. This fits into the Power Trip bag and will zip up nicely, so it is in there and fits nicely with everything else, but it just keeps the plugs from kind of, as I say, damaging the mesh or anything else inside of the Power Trip bag. I actually haven't been anywhere since I've made this, so I haven't really had much opportunity to put my laptop plug in there and test out the theory, but the laptop plug does fit. If I do go anywhere, this would be how I would transport all of my tech gear, so really love this. It was a slightly hilarious undertaking getting the pattern. The pattern is a physical thing only. You can't get it as a PDF, even though it totally would work as a PDF. And having it shipped over from By Annie, it's an A5 2-page. It's A4 pieces but folded into A5 shape, and it's 2 pages. Having that shipped from By Annie directly was something like £277. So I ended up buying mine from So Hot, and I'm totally happy to pay for a printed pattern, and if I'd bought it as a PDF I would have printed out the instructions and kept them as a printed thing anyway, so I have no issues with having to buy the printed pattern. Just the shipping was hilarious. And I mean, shipping internationally from America I know is expensive, but for what it was, it would have been like a thin letter. So 270. I didn't go for that option. I bought it from So Hot in the UK. That is something to bear in mind if you do go for the shop directly. And then the final 2 things that I made this year were brush rolls. So I made this giant one for my dad's painting brush collection, which he has now thoroughly filled up and he does use and very much enjoys. He tends to actually have it completely flat and folded in half, rather than folded over and over on itself again like this, but he doesn't really go anywhere to paint. I mean, he does every Friday afternoon at certain times of the year. There is a painting club in St. Lawrence that he sometimes goes to, but he hasn't been to that since I've made this brush roll, so he kind of just keeps it flat with everything stored in one place. And then I made myself a new makeup brush roll because my one had disintegrated. I am in the process of editing that video to give you guys a sew along of how to make one of these for yourself. It's really not difficult. I had tried to get it up before Christmas, but the editing took over. There was a lot of editing and a lot of talking about editing during Vlogmas. This one is one that fell by the wayside, but it's a really quick make and it is a really great present idea for people, so the video will be coming out to you guys soon. One of the projects that I wanted to try and get to in December was my red wool coat, and I have got as far as the lining being completely together and the back of the wool coat being sewn, and I'm going to continue working on that one, and you will be seeing that as the first thing that I make in 2024. The other thing was my red velvet and red embroidered silk dress. I didn't get anywhere with that or the wearable muslin, which was this green fabric, because as I say, I have put a little bit of weight on in December and the slopers that I made are a little tight on me at the moment. I fully intended to splurge and enjoy myself during December, and I did, and I'm now back onto keto strictly, so I will be losing a little bit more weight. So I didn't want to make this dress to fit me as I was, and I also didn't want to make a dress that would be too tight and then have, because I'm going to be making a video about making it, and I didn't want to make it too tight and then have people say, that dress is way too tight for you. So that one didn't get made either. All in all, for the year, I'm really pleased with everything that I got done. I did have 12 projects that scare me on my list, and I've managed to cross off 5 of those, some of which were epic fails, but I'm really glad that I tried. There were some other projects like the Dior silks and the silk suit that have gotten postponed until this year because of fabrics needed or beads and sequins etc. needed to make those projects everything that they could be. Those materials were more expensive than the budget I had this year. I wanted to do those pieces justice rather than try and rush through and just get something up. So out of all the things that I wanted to attempt in 2023, I think I did pretty well. I am pleased that I tried so many projects outside of my comfort zone, although so many of those failed and went wrong that I very thoroughly retreated into TNT territory for quite a lot of it. Definitely less things made this year, definitely way more alterations done than I usually do, also a lot more muslins done than I usually do, and I'm really pleased that I have decided to tackle the alterations and also properly try and fit things, although it didn't always work. Ziggy Jacket, I'm looking at you. But all in all, I am very happy with my makes from 2023. You'll have to let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Which is your favourite and why? And do you agree with me on some of my fails? I'd love to hear what you think. If you've enjoyed this video, you might want to check out this one here.